Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory Podcast. This is episode 257. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Wednesday evening here at the end of August. And I'm joined, I almost say as I always am, not lately. It's been a while, Scott. Scott Coleman's here. How are you, sir?
Hello, Brad. It has been a little while, at least for our standard. And I got to say, listening to you and our old co-host, Eric Cole, on the pod over the weekend, it brought back memories. I'm sure you sent me the file, but on my desktop, I have the audio file of Game 6 of the World Series in 2021, where you, Eric, and I did the most celebratory podcast we will ever do. Braves winning the World Series. I have that file. If folks want to go find that episode, it still is on the internet on the Battery Power podcast feed. But, it brought back memories and just nice to hear Eric's voice and maybe brighter days for the Braves than what we're currently in. But nonetheless, plenty to talk about on this edition of the show tonight. I mean, the Braves maybe they're out of the playoff race, but there is plenty going on.
Yeah, there is plenty of going on. And of course, I think Eric commented that you were ducking him on Sunday. You were traveling. I was traveling. Spoiler alert, I'll tell everybody, you're traveling again. So we haven't talked in 2 weeks, essentially, which is an eternity for you and I. And it's going to be a while after this, too, it seems like. But tis the season. I guess it's better only in one aspect that the Braves are not winning, in that we were going to have to do this travel anyway. Like, it wasn't like we're just changing our plans because the Braves are out of it. We are responsible podcasters, but we will cover it as we cover it. And yeah, 29 games left in the season. The finale of the season is a month from. People listen to this on Thursday. We're recording late Wednesday night, but people are going to listen to this, I'm sure, on Thursday. 1 month from today, September 28th, is the finale. Wow. We are down the stretch. We are 1 month remaining in the season. And, first of all, please subscribe to the podcast. We are Hammer Territory. Check us out. Subscribe. We're always here, rain or shine. But you allude to it. It's been a little bit interesting recently in the way to talk about this team, because I said this the other day and I got in trouble. This is the way that I talk. I said that the Braves chose to, or decided to, wait until they were out of it to play well. And someone was like, they didn't choose that. Thank you. I understand they didn't choose that, but it is what it is. But they're really playing extremely well right now. We'll get into it, but the Braves are 13-5 in the last 18 games, and the offense has been like remarkably good for about the last 6 weeks or so, 7 weeks or so. How does that make you feel, Scott? Now that we've done the take-a-thon stuff, like, that debate still rages, but the Braves are now in a position where they're not going to be picking, at least entering the lottery in the top 2 anymore. That's kind of gone. How are we feeling about this little mini surge that they're going on in August?
It kind of felt predictable, didn't it? Like, as terrible as this baseball team was the first 3 or 4 months of the season, I think we all knew deep down that the talent level was far better than that. God knows they could not win a close ball game. They were just terrible in one-run games, which is something that tends to balance out over the course of the season. The back end of the bullpen blowing up, all of the things that we have lamented on the show for months. And it just felt like inevitably this lineup in particular was going to start hitting at some point. Of course, it's coming now as the entire starting rotation is hurt and the team is well beyond the chance at any kind of a postseason. It's fitting, and I guess in some ways it's maybe the cherry on top of this year. I guess if you're trying to be optimistic and glass half full, you could say, okay, maybe this offense has figured some things out going into 2026. Maybe the pitching staff with some of the emergences of Hurston Waldrip is, another reinforcement next year. And let's hope they add some external pieces as well this offseason. So maybe if you squint, you can come up with some positive talking points going forward. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody actually thought this was a bottom 5 team in baseball, but clearly there's still a lot of things this team needs to get figured out.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we'll be talking about some legitimately positive quality stats and nuggets and things on this podcast. And just to give the blanket, now we understand that this does not make up for everything else that's happened. It does not mean that everything is fixed, all of the above. But look, the Marlins are a cure sometimes for this Braves team. We'll get into some specifics of what transpired the last couple of days in between our podcast episodes, but the Braves just walloped the Marlins back-to-back days on Tuesday and Wednesday. They're 5-1 against the Marlins in those 18 games. 4 of those 5 were total blowouts against Miami. That helps to pad stuff a little bit. But the offense, I mean, it's been ridiculous, honestly. Like, the sample size is not that big, but they've scored 117 runs in the aforementioned 18 games. That's 6.5 runs a game. That's ludicrous. If you don't know, like, league leaders average like 5.2 runs per game. The 2023 Braves, the best offense basically of all time, averaged about 5.7 runs per game. And the Braves have put up 6.5 runs now for, it's only 3 weeks, but it just kind of tells you how good they have been in that sample. One more fun one from Mark Bowman. The Braves have only scored 10 runs or more 11 times this year, which is not that many times for this deep into the season. But 5 of those 11 times are in the last 15 days. So basically half of the output of explosive offense has happened in the last 2 weeks. Crazy.
And, it's not hard to figure out why. Because, I mean, we were going to talk about Jurickson Profar. I mean, maybe we just talk about this guy. His impact on the top of the order has been so dynamic. Profar's on the season has been even better than he was last year with the Padres, where he had that career breakout and was a legitimate Silver Slugger, an all-star, one of the best hitting players in all of the National League. Profar's impact at the top of the lineup has been felt. It seems like Ronald Acuna Jr. is starting to feel a little better, more like himself. Matt Olson's starting to hit for some power. Michael Harris was unbelievable and then had a 2-for-30 stretch where he wasn't very good, but now Michael Harris is hitting. Ozzie Albies is hitting again. So again, man, it's like it's the back of the baseball card thing, a lot of track record with these hitters. And when you get the production and you just have players readily available other than, I guess, Austin Riley at this point in the year, you can see why this lineup was not just by us, not just by the Braves podcasters, but by like everyone in baseball thought this was going to be a good lineup, and it just didn't click until basically the season was over. And now the pitching staff is being held together by Scotch tape, and it is what it is. But it's been encouraging to see these guys finally figure some things out and string together big crooked numbers, because you just had that stat. You could probably count on one hand the number of times the Braves did that from the end of March until the All-Star break.
Yeah, it was like 100 games or so where they only had like 4 times they scored 10 runs. And now they've done it 5 times in 2 weeks. You mentioned Profar. We'll talk about him a little bit now. We talk about Michael Harris a ton. We'll come back to him, I'm sure, a little bit on this podcast. He's been a theme now for the last couple of weeks. Ozzie Albies will be a theme later on in the podcast. But Profar is a good encapsulation of what has happened. His impact, not individually, but also on the lineup, like you mentioned. But since the All-Star break, the Braves are 3rd in Major League Baseball in runs scored. Now, the All-Star break is an arbitrary endpoint. It's just by nature. It's an easy place to divide the season. And Profar came back a little bit before that, but just a little bit before that. For the most part, he's been back roughly that long. And he has been a massive catalyst for that. He hit 2 home runs today on Wednesday. And in August, it's 4 weeks now. That's a full month almost. In August, he has 9 home runs, which is a ton for a guy who's not known for home run hitting. He has 23 walks, 16 strikeouts. That's the ratio you want, more walks than strikeouts. And an OPS over 1,100 this month. Yeah. And it looks like that. Like, he is dialed in. Like, it's absolutely dialed in. And the numbers for the season look like a star. Like, I'm not saying that's going to continue, but he's been hitting like a star now for 6, 7, 8 weeks.
Yeah. On the season now, and that includes the first couple of games where Profar, I think he went like 1 for 16 or something.
Yeah, he was quite bad pre-suspension, which weighs some stuff down.
So on the whole, Profar has an 877 OPS and a 145 WRC plus. And as a reminder, 100 is league average. So 145 is a fantastic number. And even if you take out the first week of the season where he didn't do a whole lot, maybe because he knew he had a PED suspension looming at that point, maybe they were holding out a prayer that somehow he could get out on appeal. But regardless, since returning, I think on July 2nd, Profar has a 900 OPS with a 160 WRC plus. A 160 WRC plus is closer to like what Ronald Acuna Jr. did the year he won MVP and what Matt Olson did the year he was 4th in MVP voting. I don't think anyone is necessarily saying that that's the kind of hitter Jurickson Profar is going to be moving forward. But I mean, we probably said it a million times on the show. How does Profar look in the second half after getting popped for PEDs was maybe like the storyline of the second half, because the Braves owe this guy legitimate money for 2 years, and they also just flat out need him to be good, because that's the reason they brought him in, to be a leadoff hitter, or at the very least a top of the order hitter in the first place.
Yeah, the lineup just makes so much more sense with that skill set. Even if the power levels off a little bit, and it probably will, the walks, the lack of strikeouts, professional approach, all those things, and he unlocks some stuff. So not everything's fixed, but certainly it's been a lot more fun to watch the Braves the last few weeks, objectively speaking. The offense rolling the way it has been. We'll get into some more of the game action later on in the podcast. Also, on Tuesday, baseball in baseball fashion, as I'll let you unload on them later on. Scott, Major League Baseball announced the schedule the way they did. We'll get into the schedule, some thoughts on next year's schedule, etc. We'll have much more of that coming up. But first, we have our segment from DraftKings and a player spotlight. We're sponsored today by the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. All you have to do is pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and you are in the mix for cash prizes with DraftKings and Pick 6. And today, we are going to go off the board a little bit, Scott. I got to be honest with you. Not exactly a major name that we'll be talking about today, but it is Tyler Kinley. Remember Tyler Kinley 4 weeks ago? The Braves did very little at the deadline. We made fun of that in some respects. They brought in Tyler Kinley from the Rockies. It's a relief pitcher. It was a buy low opportunity, but spoiler alert, Scott, it's actually been quite good for Tyler Kinley for the 4 weeks with the Braves, and he's controllable long term, at least beyond this season. So it actually kind of matters that Tyler Kinley's been pitching pretty well out of the bullpen.
So I think everybody was maybe mildly confused while the Braves went out and traded for a reliever instead of trading away a reliever at the deadline. But if there's one thing I trust Alex Anthopoulos in this front office to do for the most part, is to identify relievers. And I know at the start of the year, this year's bullpen was not the greatest. I would also probably counter argue that they could not have necessarily foreseen Raisel Iglesias falling off a mountain cliff for 2 months and Joe Jimenez getting hurt and all of those things. But I digress. But Tyler Kinley has been good. And there were some interesting parts of his profile. Getting a pitcher out of Coors Field and just the overall stink of the Rockies is always a worthwhile gamble. And he has a sub-1 ERA over the last month since coming to the Braves. And for Kinley, he has a $5 million option for 2026. When they traded for him, it kind of felt like, okay, they gave up nothing to get him. This is going to be a 2-month trial run. And if he keeps this up the last month, why not? I mean, it would be basically $4.25 million is the difference in salary because he has a buyout. For $4 million, if he throws anything like he has thrown recently, I think the Braves are going to bring him back for a middle relief role in 2026.
Yeah, a guy in his 30s, not a huge upside play, but a relatively bargain deal if it's a solid reliever, and he looks like that. And look, there's more to life than ERA for sure. You don't want to evaluate an ERA over 11 appearances, but the FIP is in the 2s, sub-3 FIP. The underlying stuff looks decent. They've had success buying low from Rockies relievers, trying to find something that they like. So we're not declaring that it's definitely going to happen and that he'll be here long term or even here for next year. But it's a quiet buy low, and the whole thought process was basically, like you just said, if it works, it works. And so far, it's working through a month. So there you go. Shout out to Tyler Kinley, who's done well since arriving from Colorado. Now, before we move on, a couple of selections on the Pick 6 options. This time, I took the liberty. I made Scott do this last time. I did it this time. Some NFL options for Week 1. I am going with Christian McCaffrey, more than 0.5 touchdowns, so basically to score a touchdown against Seattle in Week 1. I always feel good about Christian McCaffrey scoring when he's healthy, and so far he's healthy. The big thing with him is not his health. He's healthy right now. Give me Christian McCaffrey, and just for Scott, I am taking Indianapolis Colts running back Jonathan Taylor, more than 0.5 touchdowns, so basically to score against Miami in Week 1. Scott, I have to ask you, are you okay with Jonathan Taylor scoring touchdowns as part of Pick 6?
So, Brad, if you were an NFL coach and Daniel Jones was going to be your quarterback, What are you going to do a lot of if you have a running back like Jonathan Taylor?
You are going to run the football, Scott.
Run
Run.
the damn ball. Yes, so I like it. Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, is an unbelievable talent. Jonathan Taylor is going to get the rock a million times. And I mean, we're like a week and a half away from NFL, which is probably a welcome distraction for the football fans who tune into this show, because we all know, sadly, September is not going to be quite the month we were all hoping it would be for the Atlanta Braves.
That's right. And no more football today, but we will say download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code FOUL. That is code FOUL. If you're a new customer, play $5, get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside where a few bucks to turn into a bag only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. 8/24/25 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Scott, before we dig into the schedule, a couple of notes on the last 2 days of blowout victories. If you missed it, the most recent show in this feed was Monday from our guys, Sean and Steven. Listen to that show, watch that show on YouTube, subscribe, tell your friends, etc. But since then, an 11-2 win on Tuesday and a 12-1 win on Wednesday. Doesn't get more dominant than that over 2 days. Tuesday first, it was 2-2 going to the ninth on Tuesday. And then the Braves scored 9 runs in the ninth inning, 6 hits, 3 walks, and then a 3-run home run by Ozzie Albies. And suddenly it went from a close game that the Braves were like in danger of losing to a legitimate blowout victory. I think Ozzie's got to be the story. He hit 2 home runs in the game on Tuesday. And this kind of blows my mind. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm sure you saw the stat. It blew my mind that he had not hit 2 home runs in a game since July 4th, 2023. That's 26 months ago. And he wasn't like hurt for like half their, like, it wasn't like one of those where Acuna has some weird stats because he missed like a lot of a season. Ollie's had some injuries, but like he hasn't been like out for that long. That's a long time.
Well, and maybe like the craziest thing with the 2 home run game for Ozzie Albies is that one of them came as a right-handed hitter, which was the first right-handed home run of the year. That's for nuts. Ozzie Albies. This dude was legitimately Mike Trout. Like Mike Trout's prime was essentially what Ozzie Albies' production level was as a switch hitter on the right side. And he went this entire year without a homer. Really makes me think that after he broke his wrist last season, maybe he still just does not have all of that strength back. He's, of course, a small guy, so every ounce matters. And really good. He had another homer on Wednesday, and you know, we're going to talk about Ozzie Albies here for a bit because he is a player who I think is having a good enough second half to feel more confident in bringing him back for next season. Because frankly, before the All-Star break where he started to figure some things out, even though he is dirt cheap for 2026, I think you could make a legitimate argument for not bringing Ozzie Albies back, not because of the money in the contract, but just from a pure performance standpoint. I think he has maybe put some of those concerns behind him. And by all means, keep hitting the home runs because that is how Ozzie gets home offensively so often over his entire career.
He does rely on power in a way that people don't always appreciate because of the size, but he is a power hitter, as strange as that might seem. But you're right. I mean, he has a 600 OPS this year as a right-handed hitter. Like that is insane for Ozzie Albies. For comparison's sake, his career number, and that includes this season, his career number as a right-handed hitter, 883 OPS. Like he's been a star as a right-handed hitter for his entire career.
Yeah, above 900 before this season.
Yeah, and last year was in the 900 range. The year before that was over 1,000. Like he's consistently been a star from the right side. This year, not so much. But let's just talk about this for a second. I thought it was funny the timing because every like month or so it seems that the Ozzie option discourse like really pops up again in full force on Braves Twitter or wherever. And I think it happened like a Monday before he had this 3-homer stretch in 2 games because he hit another home run today. Part of that was that Mark Feinstein of MLB.com wrote about all kinds of options, and he was one of them. But Feinstein wrote about it as if like it was a pretty obvious pickup for the Braves. The way that he phrased it was as follows. The $3 million difference between the buyout and contract, quote, makes it very likely that the Braves bring him back next season as he looks to bounce back, end quote. Our old pal, Demetrius Bell, who's been a podcast guest for us, he's the manager, I think the managing editor or editor of something at Battery Power. Demetrius, shouts to you. He wrote it up and got some blowback, but his headline was that it was a no-brainer pickup. I don't share that sentiment. I've always kind of leaned to the pickup, but okay. We'll reserve the right to change our minds, Scott. But as of August 27th, you are the Braves. If season ends today, there's an act of God, and you have to choose right now, pickup or no pickup.
So I think it's important to note, just before we get into this conversation, that the second base market this offseason looks pretty terrible.
I mean, I feel like it always does too. Like it's like almost always terrible. Between that and it's that and the buyout, right? Like the two things we have people always forget. It's not just $7 million. They owe him a buyout number that's a big buyout number, which matters.
Yes. So because of that, like Gleyber Torres, I believe, is like the only second baseman who's maybe going to hit free agency. He's having a nice season with Detroit. But besides that, there's nothing out there. And sure, like if you feel that legitimately that like Ketel Marte of the Diamondbacks could actually be available in a trade, then sure, I would obviously take Ketel Marte every day of the week on the Braves. We'll see if they can even come close to matching a package for what it would take to get him, assuming Arizona even is entertaining trading Marte, even though there were some rumors and speculation a few weeks ago. But to me, I think my preference is to bring Ozzie Albies back. It's so little money next season, and he has had a better second half, and then put that money into getting a shortstop and getting another starting pitcher for this rotation, because we know, God knows, this rotation is not going to stay healthy for all of 2026. We cannot possibly do another season where Bryce Elder is going to make 25 starts and they're picking up every veteran with a pulse off of the waiver wire. They can't do that next year, and they also have to find a way to improve shortstop, because Nick Allen is legitimately the worst hitter by like a considerable margin of players who play every single day. I know the glove is great, but you cannot have a player who's running like a 500 OPS over the last couple of months. You just can't do it, even if the glove is really good for Nick Allen.
Yeah, Nick Allen is currently slugging .249 for the season while playing every single day. So that's not going to work.
Max Fried might have had a higher slugging percentage than that when he was still hitting for the Braves.
Yeah, whatever. We've all enjoyed Nick Allen's glove. You're right about all of the things you just said. But yeah, on the Ozzie front, look, this is not a gospel number, but Fangraphs has this value metric where it's basically like what you are quote unquote worth, and it's by their WAR metric. And entering today, before he hit a home run today, so I'm sure it's gone up from this. Ozzie was already worth $5.9 million this year, despite how not very good he has been, quite honestly. So if you want to be like raw numbers, yeah, there's some opportunity cost that will come up. That's why you led with the market thing. That's a great point. Also, I would note that the buyout number is like half the salary. I mean, if there was no buyout and it was just, okay, Ozzie for zero, cut Ozzie for zero or pay him $7 million, I would find it to be a much more interesting discussion, honestly. But because the buyout number is literally half the salary, it's like they have to really, really not want him on the team to not pick him up, to pick up the option. And also, there is a world in which you could pick it up and try to trade him. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's possible too, to the point where I bet you I'm not saying you get a great haul for him, to be very clear, but I bet you if you pick that option up and then put him on the trade block, someone would want him. And just to buy low, basically as a buy low on a guy who's still in his 20s, who has a record of being basically a star level player for like multiple seasons. You know,
and you can also say that Ozzie's going to be more distanced from the wrist surgery, which is not a small thing. I think that's, looking back on it, we probably should have given him some more grace, or at least been more aware of the fact that it might hold him back for a player who almost exclusively needs power in order to be productive. So yeah, I mean, if it was 10 million, 15 million, anything more than that, then I think it's probably a no for me. because of just the production, but it's so little money. If that means, and assuming the Braves are not cheap asses and don't keep cutting payroll and don't buy themselves some nice office chairs to go with all those office complexes they're buying, I think my preference is to have legitimate money to throw at shortstop, help out the pitching staff. You can never have enough depth, and have Ozzie Albies as the 8th hitter in your lineup. Like, I can't imagine that in a year's time, if the Braves do these things we've talked about, they upgrade shortstop, they add to the pitching staff, and they have Ozzie Albies batting 8th. I can't imagine this time in a year we're banging our heads against the wall because Ozzie Albies is the team's second baseman.
Yeah, and we'll move off of this, but just as a, again, arbitrary endpoint, but it's the All-Star break. Ozzie has a 762 OPS since the All-Star break. That's 38 games. If the Braves think that that is a realistic projection for next year, it's an automatic pickup.
All day long.
The only way they would think to not pick that option up is if they think Ozzie is not even capable of that. Like, and that's not where he used to be. Like, there have been many seasons where he's been a 800 plus OPS guy and all that. If he can have a low 700s OPS, he's worth that money, given what he's owed on the option and all the flexibility stuff that you just said. So, also great vibes guy, which is only a tiebreaker, but like a beloved guy in the locker room, and like that stuff does matter on the margins. So if it's close, I've always thought they were going to keep him. And if unless he has a terrible September, I am projecting them to pick it up.
Yeah,
but
I think that's fair. Timestamp it. Last couple days in August. These things are fluid. They can change. But I think I agree with you. It seems like Ozzie will be back next season.
All right, more to get to in a second when it comes to Hurston Waldrip, the schedule. A crazy third inning on Wednesday in Miami that featured some trademark histrionics between the Marlins and Rowland and Scott Coleman Jr. We'll get into all that and more after a word from our partners.
FT fam, welcome to the world's most comfortable swimwear. For a moment, we are talking about Fair Harbor. We actually have some show and tell today. This is the liner that you're working with inside of the shorts and the bathing suits.
You know what the best part is about this, Scott?
What?
They have a lot of different options because these are clearly yours because I would never order this pattern, but
that
they
is
look
so
great
me.
on you.
That is so me.
These are so you. Mine are a little bit more plain than this.
Yes.
But they are super comfortable. The liner, I love liner shorts. Some people don't. But these liners are better than most that I've had on, if not all of them.
Yeah,
because
this is the best liner out there.
No mesh. All of the above is perfect.
Exactly. It's really good. You got to give it a shot. Also, fun random fact, you get a new shirt. It smells really good. So head to fairharborclothing.com/FOUL and use code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. Once again, Fairharbor, HARBOR clothing.com/FOUL for 20% off your first purchase and use that promo code FOUL so they know FT sent you.
All right, Scott, quickly on Tuesday, Hurston Waldrip didn't have his best stuff by everyone's account on Tuesday, but still managed to throw 5 1/3 innings with only 1 run. 0 strikeouts. That's like hard to do. It's hard to throw 5 1/3 with 1 run and not strike anybody out, but he managed to do that on Tuesday. But hey, only walked 1, and the ERA for Hurston Waldrip remains sub 1 in his 30 innings this month. I got to say, he was very fortunate to only allow 1 run on Tuesday. Yeah. But hey, you need some good fortune to have a 0.9 ERA for 5 starts.
Well, and I think even though it was clearly the worst performance from Waldrip that we have seen this season since he was called up, I think Waldrip does deserve some credit for pitching through it and only giving up 1 run. Because frankly, I mean, we saw it in that one game against the Nationals last season where an inning kind of spiraled on him and you blinked and he had given up like 9 runs in an inning. And he deserves credit. He loaded the bases at one point with nobody out and worked out of it. And he just did not have his good stuff, didn't have command. The splitter was all over the place. It was the second time the Marlins had seen Waldrip in a couple of weeks, so maybe that had something to do with it. But while it was not a great start, I think it's worth giving Waldrip some credit for figuring out a way to cover 5 1/3 innings on a night where he just really did not have anything going.
Yeah, we've talked about him a lot recently. He has one more start in August. There are some historical benchmark numbers that he could do for a calendar month if he pitches well on Sunday. We'll end the podcast with that, but he's been great. Obviously, been a revelation. He'll cool off, but where the level is, there's something to be said to your point about just navigating an outing like that when you don't have your stuff. And yeah, it's about offense and all that, but still notable and impressive. On to Wednesday, which, by the way, was the final game between the Braves and Marlins this year. So all the drama, there's no way for anything else to happen. They don't play again until next year. But we already mentioned Profar homering. It was the third pitch of the game when he went deep, and the Braves never trailed after that. But then all the fun, I don't know if that's the right word or not, Scott, was the third inning. So first, Matt Olson hits an absolute bomb to open the inning, basically. Home run, 420 plus. Brandon Gaudin on the broadcast called it a, quote, absolute tank. Seems appropriate for the way that ball was annihilated. The next pitch, Ronald Acuna is hit with a pitch, and he did not like it. I will let you go from there, Scott. What transpired? What was your reaction? All the post-game. And just to say it out loud, just for everybody that does maybe not know, the Marlins have a history with Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yes.
That underlines all of what transpired today.
So 2 real thoughts on Acuna getting hit. The benches did technically clear, but I mean, it was not exactly
very slowly.
This was not who was it? Amir Garrett, that Reds reliever who like took on an entire dugout. Like
it was not that. I think Bowman said it had all the aggression of like a post-game handshake line or something. It was one of those like snarky things. But the benches did clear technically. So I will say this. I absolutely understand why Ronald Acuna Jr. gets pissed whenever he gets hit by a pitch, especially against the Marlins, because those clowns intentionally, like Jose Urena needs like counseling because those clowns threw at him for years and there was no denying it. Don Mattingly allowed it to happen. Acuna was seemingly getting hit every time he played the Marlins, and that has calmed down over the last maybe 2 years or so. But I don't blame Ronald at all for being pissed. I would be pissed too. Mm-hmm. That being said, I don't think Ryan Gusto, a 27-year-old journeyman who is going through the majors for the first time, he's a rookie. I don't think Ryan Gusto is hunting for Ronald Acuna Jr. with a 2-seam fastball that came in. I mean, that was kind of my take. I mean, I think in a vacuum, Ronald was probably a little too hot with his reaction, but I also don't blame him because he's been hit a million times by these clowns who play their baseball in Miami. Yes, I tend to agree. And Snit said the same thing. And, we won't do it today. I have taken some exception with Snit not defending Ronnie enough in certain spots over the years. I thought it was fine today, just for the record. But Snit said basically he didn't think he hit him on purpose either. The context is important. Not only the history with the Marlins, but also it was the first pitch after a home run. That heightens everything, right? If you're a pitcher, and again, established, we don't think he hit him on purpose, but you give up a 430-foot tank home run, and the next pitch, not the same at bat, the next pitch hits Ronnie. That's going to heighten everybody, right? That's why the bench is clear. Ronnie reacted. I don't blame him for that. But like Snit was mad and got tossed. And Snit's problem, by all accounts, was that the umpire issued warnings to both teams, which is like a default thing they do. But like Snit's point is like, why are you warning us? We didn't do anything other than hit a home run and get hit by a pitch. Like, why are you warning us? And Snit goes out to basically make that point and gets tossed. Like, it is what it is. It just became an incident. I think it got more attention because it's Ronnie and the Marlins. But I think it was a perfect storm of team history, player history, and the fact that it was literally the next pitch after a home run. All those things wrapped into one. It's not a big deal, and they won't see each other again. Yeah. I'm kind of glad they don't play tomorrow because then it's like everyone's on high alert. And if the pitch is inside to Ronnie at any point tomorrow, it becomes a national story. All this stuff. Yeah, that won't happen anymore. So. Whatever. Yeah,
please stop hitting Ronald Acuna Jr. with baseballs, especially if you're a Marlins pitcher. I mean, and again, I don't think Ryan Gusto had any intent. I think it got away from him. Maybe he was frustrated, whatever. But thankfully, it didn't get Acuna anywhere where it did serious damage. It didn't get a hand or a wrist or a finger. Those are the ones you really worry about.
Thank God. By the way, later in that same inning, Ozzie hit a 3-run home run. So it went from Olson to histrionics to another Ozzie home run. later in the game when they blew it wide open, Michael Harris hit a home run. I think you mentioned it earlier in passing, but he had gone he was, of course, scalding hot. He'd gone ice cold. Apparently, Michael does not have a middle ground. He's either scalding hot or absolutely ice cold. He reached base 3 times in the previous 30 plate appearances before today. And then he had 2 hits and looked better today. There's been a whole are you been following the discourse about who fixed Michael and the drama about that online? Because it's been flummoxing me. I have no interest in weighing in on it really. I just want to know if you were following. It's just funny to me. Everyone's draw their line in the sand and have to argue about everything. It's just silly.
Yeah. No, I have seen it. I did not indulge in it myself.
Why?
I mean, the reason Michael Harris is either screaming hot or ice cold is because he doesn't take walks. I mean,
he does not.
Yeah.
Now the adjustment, which we've covered a lot, the adjustment is real. He did make a swing adjustment. The bat and ball contact is way better, but his approach is still not fixed. So he has to take some walks every once in a while. Anyway, it's still been encouraging to see Michael break back out. And I think he can, if he's just the guy he's been over the last 6 weeks, adjusted for he's not going to be 1,000 OPS guy with this approach. That's kind of where I will leave it. What do you think?
Yeah,
he won't be the guy he was earlier this season. I'm pretty confident in that. I always kind of was that he was never going to be that bad. He was just broken for 2 months, and that doesn't seem like it's a real thing. But I also am not fully buying the recent surge. I don't know.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't think this is Michael Harris going forward, where he's a top 5 hitter in baseball. I also don't think he was what he was early in the year when he was the worst player in baseball. He has a truly fascinating 2026 ahead of him.
He sure does. Quickly, a couple notes on the games, then we'll get to the schedule. Joey Wentz, who I talked about a lot with Eric on Sunday, after he had his first bad start with the Braves, honestly. He came back today, facing the Marlins, but hey, 6 2/3 innings, 1 run, 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Joey Wentz has been good. He really has. FIP, and this is more important to me than ERA even, FIP of 3.03 in 44 2/3 innings. You can't really fake that. ERAs can fluctuate in that kind of sample size, but the underlying stuff in Joey Wentz, and Eric talked about his extension. That's been the biggest change is he's getting way out in front and the extension being close. It's flummoxing batters. That happened today, and every start, it's a little bit more real every 5-6 days. But Joey, if you keep doing this for another month, he's going to be a candidate for the rotation. He just has to be.
It's almost too good to ignore at that point. And when they signed Wentz, I don't know if anybody saw this coming, but he's been really good, legitimately good. The surface level numbers say he's been good. The underlying metrics say he's been good. He was obviously a very touted prospect at one point. Sometimes, especially lefty pitchers, take a little more time to figure it out. So sure, I mean, I think if Joey Wentz now gets blown up in his next 2 or 3 starts, then it's okay. Well, maybe he's a 6th or 7th starter who they can stash in Gwinnett next season. But if he has a good final month, then I think he has a real chance to throw innings of some kind for this team, maybe out of the bullpen, maybe as a long man, maybe as a hybrid, maybe as an opener. We'll see what ultimately happens, but he's done far better than I was anticipating when they signed him.
Yeah, strongly agree with that.
To say it lightly.
To say the least. Also, they DH'd, it was an afternoon game today. They DH'd Ronald, which I actually liked that. Give him a day off his feet for the most part. And they actually played Jake Fraley. Jake Fraley, who they acquired 8 days ago, had not played at all. And he finally started today. He's actually a pretty interesting player. Has a nice platoon split, can help them maybe off the bench, has some future control. Sure.
Sure.
I liked seeing that. We will not do the bit. I pledged to myself today, we will not do the bit about Drake Baldwin not playing enough beyond just saying that he has not played enough. That's all I will say about that topic today. It's been litigated enough. But
you're a wise man. I cannot have this argument for the 10th time this month.
It's not even an argument. We agree. But every single time without fail, I see a lineup that has Marcell Ozuna and not Drake Baldwin. I want to bang my head into a wall. And that didn't happen today. Drake played today. So we're good vibes only on a Wednesday. Okay, Scott, let us discuss the 2026 schedule, which came out on Tuesday. We were going to do a podcast that went through every single game of the schedule. It would take several hours. It was going to be awesome content. And then Scott said no. I pitched it. I wanted to do it.
No. You just undersold this, Brad. The schedule came out on Tuesday. In very baseball form and fashion,
I wanted you to do this exactly. So let's get. I'm glad. Here we are.
Major League Baseball releases their schedule for 2026 at like 1:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday in August.
With no lead up at all, no buzz,
nothing, not a thing. And I do think like everything gets compared to the NFL because the NFL is the biggest sports league in the country. The NFL overdoes their schedule. They turn it into like a 2-week event
because they can. And people care about it. That's why people.
Right.
And it's more interesting than baseball.
I get it. I'm not obtuse, but what I'm saying is it was very on brand for Major League Baseball with no notice, no hype, no excitement, no buildup. Like, did our friends at Foul Territory even know on Tuesday that the schedule was coming out?
Honestly, we should have asked them, and I didn't do that. I would love to know if they had any advance notice. I don't know. Also, this is not baseball's fault, but the fact that the Taylor Swift thing happened like at the same exact time, which was deeply hilarious. That's actually not their fault, but man, it was even funnier. It's like, by the way, here's the 162 game schedule for you, everybody, in the middle of the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce engagement. So stipulated on the podcast. Funny that they didn't roll it out. Also, like, it's August and they're still playing. Like every other sport, they do it in the offseason. I get why baseball does this because they have so many games. Like, I get it, but like, I would still want to. Wouldn't you just do it in November? Like, can they not wait till November?
Yeah, or on like a Thursday night where there's only a couple of games, or maybe like a Thursday, especially in September when you have so many days off. Like, there's always a Thursday where there's 2 day games and 1 night game, and everybody else is off. Again, I get it. This is not the NFL. It's 162 games. It's basically the same schedule every year, just teams move around. But still, I was like, oh, they put the schedule out. We should talk about this at least for 5 minutes.
It's literally a mark. It's great. It's great for planning. If you are a season ticket holder, you need that information to know when you're going to be there. If you want to travel, if you're a diehard, you want to travel to some places to follow the team around. Very important information to get in advance. We all get it. It was a funny rollout, and I knew before we even talked, I knew you'd be triggered, and you were. So you came through for me. I appreciate that.
Thank you for letting me get that out of my system. My wife was going to throw something at me if I kept talking to her about it. So this is why I do podcasts with you, Brad.
I'm sure she would have really enjoyed the discourse about the Pirates on a Tuesday. Okay. Some notes. We will not go through all the joking aside. We're not going to go through everything. I thought the most interesting thing of the whole schedule, honestly, was that this is the earliest domestic start. So like like Japan one-off series ever. The standard opening day for Major League Baseball across the league is March 26th. That is super duper early, which means, and by the way, they're also going just as late. So it's like, they're not in theory, which means there's more off days in the schedule. Like, not a ton more, but probably 2 or 3 more than there used to be, which I tend to like.
Yeah, I think that was something the players pushed for in the latest CBA negotiations.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, it's a very long season. Of course, the counter is it's cold a lot of places still in late March. Of course, you have to schedule around that and not play in Colorado, perhaps in late March. Not play in Seattle, places that are
Chicago
cold.
In the blizzard
Chicago
a couple
outside.
Years ago.
Yeah, no thanks. Yeah. But anyway, that was interesting to me. But from a Braves perspective, I think the thing that got the most attention is the Braves actually start at home next season, and they haven't done that in a while.
They have not done that. So technically in 2022, the Braves opened up the season at home, but that's only because the first week of the season was postponed because of the lockout. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, comment me, tweet me, whatever, but I believe this is the first scheduled opening day in Atlanta since 2019. Which was 7 years ago by the time it comes around.
Yeah, it'll be 7 by the time it comes around. And that's a long, I mean, again, this is not something that I get exercised about, just to be honest with you, everybody that's listening. But I know fans are like, get mad when they don't open at home. And obviously you can't open at home every year. That seems pretty obvious to everybody if you understand the way things go. But when it's been a long time, like, you want to have your little showcase at home. And it's a very big, obvious showcase event. It's also odd. I think actually DOB made the joke and I laughed. So good job, DOB, about the traditional rival Kansas City Royals coming in for the first week of the season. That was funny. But yeah, it is the Royals and the A's. the first two series. Not exactly flagship opponents, but hey, it's at home.
So 6 home games against the Royals and the Athletics. And then they go out west to play the Diamondbacks, which, shout out
Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
Yes.
shout out to all of our Braves fans in Arizona. A lot of you, talked to a few of you when they came out west. Be there again in April. And then the Angels. So the first 4 series of the year are Royals, Athletics, at Diamondbacks, at Anaheim Angels. Just, yeah.
I speak for everyone, I think, when I say I'm excited that it's not at Dodgers, at Padres.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that ever again. I don't care what happens. I never want to see at Dodgers, at Padres to open the season ever again. Because every time, I don't know if you see the YouTube comments that I see, Scott, almost every show, someone inevitably comments that the season was over after the first week, which I actually don't agree with still. At me if you want to, but I never want to see it again. All set. No more Dodgers, no more Padres that first week of the season. I'm good.
So it seems like a relatively friendly start to the season. We'll take that. We'll see, but generally Atlanta in late March, early April, not terrible for weather. And then in Phoenix, best time to come out is April. So if you've ever wanted to come out west, do that. It's a dome. Probably have the roof open in Chase Field, and then out in LA and Anaheim to play the Angels. So there's no, I guess, immediate super concerns with the schedule here. And it is on paper much softer than what the Braves saw this past season.
Yeah. And all of the West Coast trips for the whole season are done by the middle of June. They had the long one is a 10-day trip in May to Colorado, Seattle, and then to the Dodgers. And then again, they don't go out west again, after mid-June. It's interesting layout there. MLB is pushing the rivalry weekend thing. All their releases had that. It's Braves Red Sox. I don't care about that rivalry. It doesn't really exist. But that's May 15th through 17th. The Braves do host the Mets on July 4th weekend. That will be big. If the Braves are competitive, and I guess it's not a given anymore, if the Braves are decent, that will be a big time attention series. That's prime baseball. Even casuals are in on baseball that weekend.
Oh, so every stadium I think 13 out of 15 stadiums this past year sold out on 4th of July. So, it's a pretty favorable schedule from a gate and revenue perspective. 4th of July, I think Father's Day weekend, the Braves are at home. Labor Day weekend, the Braves are at home. It's, there's some, it's not as bad. This year's schedule just felt really hard. You talked about the early start was brutal. They weren't home for a couple of key weekends. One interesting note, and this is now the second year in a row, the Braves will not play the New York Mets until the middle of June. But somehow, even though they don't play the Mets until mid-June, all 4 of the series against New York are between mid-June and mid-August. And then they're done. It's the same way this year. That's a weird quirk. I get it. 30 teams, 162 games. It's not always going to line up perfectly, but that's kind of, I don't know. That was something that caught people's attention. Yeah. So we'll see how it all shakes out, but it's exciting for me, at least. Maybe I'm weird, but I get excited when I see a schedule for next year.
We are weird. Stipulated that. Not a huge deal, I guess, but the Braves are not playing on Memorial Day again next year. Terrible. And this year they didn't play on Memorial Day either. I don't understand. Memorial Day should be an auto.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
How is that? I don't get it either. That's really dumb. And that's the unofficial start of the summertime. Weather's usually really nice. It's everyone, not everyone. Most people are off work. Summer, kids are out for the summer. That sucks. I didn't realize they were off on Memorial Day.
2 years in a row. This year they were also off. Next year they're off again. I don't understand that one.
Very weird.
Our friend Steven pointed this out to us. The draft is July 12th. Usually we'll not plan on that one being as big of a deal as it is. It's going to be a bigger deal this year. The Braves will pick higher than they have picked in a very, very long time. Circle that one. I'll go ahead and text Carlos Collazo right now and say, Carlos, what are we doing the pre-draft podcast in early June?
There we go. Which
it's coming.
Future first ballot Hall of Famer are the Braves taking on July 12th? That's the lead question to Carlos. Whenever we have him on the show. Yeah.
Somebody. They also, and we'll get out of here, I promise. They end with 9 of the last 12 on the road. Not ideal in a competitive scenario. But they do play the Phillies 7 times in September. They don't play the Mets. They play the Phillies a lot in September next year. So that'll be, if the Phillies are good, and presumably they will be good. They have been good for a while now. Could be some showdown games there. You don't want to get ahead of yourself too much. That's the whole fun about doing the schedule. Also, somebody asked us I think it was on Twitter, there are no times yet. They don't announce the times. It's a giant TBD on every time. You only have the day. I don't know. Do you remember when they announce the times? It's like in the winter.
I feel like
sometime.
they trickle out like January, February. There's always a few TBAs on like weekends or like the Friday night games, and who knows what the national TV situation is going to be next year. But usually it comes out like quietly because it's baseball, but quietly they kind of roll out the start times in the off season at some point.
And that is actually part of why they don't do the times is the national schedule, like you just said. And baseball's national TV partners are still in flux. There's been a lot of reporting about that. Andrew Marchand's been all over this. But ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is gone. NBC is going to get some. It's going to be maybe even more confusing than it's been. The Roku games are going away. It seems like the Sunday morning Roku games.
That's such a bad.
Apple's a hot button topic always too. Like we'll save that for the off season, but like it's all changing. It's all changing again. So strap in, everybody. We'll tell you where to watch the games at some point. Okay, Scott, let's get out of here. But a brief look at the weekend, because it's Wednesday night going into Thursday, and a series that should have been a lot more important than it actually is. But 4 games in Philadelphia beginning on Thursday. And just like we talked about earlier with the Mets and the Marlins, the Braves don't play the Phillies after this. This is the final Philly series of the year. 4 games. The Braves did announce their probables today. It's Cal Quantrill still throwing me off that he's in the rotation. That's on Thursday. Then Bryce Elder. Then someone named TBA on Saturday. That is going to be Chris Sale, unless something drastically weird happens in a return. That'll be fun to just watch Chris Sale. I know it doesn't matter, whatever. And then Hurston Waldrip on Sunday. And that's a Sunday night baseball game. So Hurston Waldrip with a national showcase, and he's going to have a 0.9 ERA to begin the game. Hopefully he has his best stuff. That would be fun if he did.
So really excited to see Chris Sale. It'll be great to have him on the mound. We, of course, will be holding our breath just a little bit, but
yes,
good to have Chris Sale back. And then for Waldrip, I think especially all eyes on Hurston Waldrip, because even though he has the stellar ERA and you can only pitch against the teams who are in front of you, it is fair to say that Waldrip's opponents so far have been very bad. The Marlins twice, the White Sox, the Guardians, the Reds. I believe last time I looked, all of those opponents are in the bottom 10 in baseball in offense. I think 2 of them are in the bottom 5. So it's been an easier rollout for Waldrip, and now he's going to get a big test on Sunday night against Philly, but let's hope he's able to build and show something there. But yeah, Brad, I mean, in another world, honestly, in another world, we're probably doing a 15, 20-minute preview of this series. We're not doing that. It is what it is. We're just kind of going through the motions, but let's try to beat up on the Phillies this weekend and make life a little difficult for them.
Yeah, this could have been a crossover with the Phillies show, our colleagues on the network kind of series, if the Braves were not where they are in the standings. But hey, it's still fun, and also, no matter where you stand on the tanking debate, it's fun to beat the Phillies. So if the Braves can beat the Phillies, I will not complain about that in the slightest. It'd be fun to knock them off a little bit, and always a little bit of juice flowing when you play the Phillies. Oh, I just saw something. Friday night's game, Scott, Apple TV Plus. So I can tell you, I can tell you with a certainty, it's Bryce Elder against Ranger Suarez. It's a very bad matchup, and it's an Apple TV Plus game. So people are going to be skipping that one, I think.
And the Braves have not had a good game against Ranger Suarez ever. So
correct.
And just one note, man, it's such a legitimate bummer that Zach Wheeler is done for the season. Maybe, his career might be on life support at this point. It's bad. Folks can look up Wheeler. He has a serious medical condition thing going on right now. And so no more Zach Wheeler, at least this year for the Phillies, and legitimately hope he's back, because Wheeler is one of my favorite players to watch in all of baseball, regardless of team.
Agreed. He's a guy we used to want the Braves to sign several years ago, and I wish they
Yeah.
had. But the first two pitching matchups are not favorable. Cal Quantrill against Aaron Nola, and then Bryce Elder, Ranger Suarez is pretty tough on paper. But hey, it gets better as the weekend goes along. Chris Sale Saturday, Hurston Waldrip on Sunday, and they did push Spencer Strider back a day. That's probably gonna be the plan. It seems like the rest of the season. Give him an extra day every time. Fine with me. Doesn't bother me at all. He looked better in his last start, and we'll cover that as we need to. Scott, we have done almost an hour. Anything else you want to add before we sign off on this podcast? And I believe for you, for a little while, you're traveling.
We are going to do some traveling, so I will not see your beautiful face for a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll watch on YouTube and watch you and Steven and Sean
Please.
and whoever else. And I'll start commenting about how good you guys are doing and how Scott should never come back and all of those good things. But yes, we're going to do some traveling. My wife and I looking forward to it. In another world, we would have been thinking about how I'd be missing out on some really good, important Braves baseball. Didn't work out that way, but nonetheless, I know you guys will do a fine job covering the team while I am away.
I have a similar international day job trip that I have mandated to be on in October. And you know this, but I had serious angst about when that trip is, and I have to go, and playoffs and all that. And now that doesn't matter quite as much as it was going to matter at one point. So it's just what it is, man. We do our best. We do spend, this is a job for us. We treat it like a job. We work hard doing this. We try to be consistent. We also have to do other things. We have to travel sometimes. And that's why there are four of us as well. It's nice to have four of us.
That's right.
So we cover for each other.
Steven and Sean just running the ship. We love it. Those guys do a fantastic job. YouTube loves Sean Coleman.
That is true.
Sean's the man. I mean, he's just such a fun guy. Even before we start recording, I'm just like, Sean, what's going on in your world, man? And I love to hear it. But as always, a big thank you to everybody checking out the show, even as the Braves, even though they're playing better right now, of course, not the season we wanted, but a sincere thank you to everybody who's listening on audio and watching on YouTube. You guys are awesome for sticking with us in this season.
Yes, strongly agree. Please subscribe if you are new to the podcast or just checking us out for the first time in a while or anything like that. Subscribe, rate, review. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We are on YouTube. If you are an audio listener, as I always say, I am an audio listener to podcasts. Do us a solid and just subscribe on YouTube anyway. Even if you're not going to watch, it's fine. Subscribe there. Helps us to grow the channel, like the podcast, etc. Tell your friends. Follow us on Hammer Territory on social media. For Scott, my name is Brad Rowland. Thank you for being here, everybody. We appreciate it, and we'll see you all next time.